Welcome to the Explainer. The stated goal was supposed to be regime change in Iran, but it looks like the real shakeup is happening right inside the White House. We're seeing top officials getting fired in the middle of a war. So today, let's break down what is really going on here.
All right, so let's get right into the central mystery here. This is a question that is pretty much the whole world watching. And it all kicked off with one really shocking dismissal that sent a crystal clear message through the ranks.
Think about it. You fire the Army's top general, a seriously experienced officer, right in the heat of a conflict. That is a huge move. And forcing him to retire a full year early? Well, that sent absolute shockwaves through Washington and the Pentagon. But here's the thing. He wasn't the last.
And yeah, this wasn't just some isolated incident. Not at all. A really clear pattern has started to emerge. We're talking Army, Navy, Air Force. The absolute highest levels of the U.S. military are being systematically cleared out. So this isn't just some shakeup. No, sources are actually calling it a purge.
So, to really get to the why behind all this, we've got to look past just the firings. We need to dig into the conflicting information about the war itself, because it really seems like there are two completely different stories being told right now.
And this is where things get really fascinating. Look at the massive gap between the official story and what everyone else is reporting. The White House says 13 soldiers have died, okay? But then you have Iran claiming they've killed up to 800, and American outlets like The Intercept reporting as many as 750 casualties. That is a discrepancy you just can't ignore.
So you have to ask, right? How could a gap like that even exist? Well, reports from NBC News suggest the president might be living in a kind of information bubble. Instead of getting these comprehensive, detailed briefings, he's allegedly being shown a daily 2-minute highlight reel of the war's successes. Basically a propaganda video.
And it seems this is about way more than just military strategy. Sources are pointing to a few different reasons. For one, generals like Randy George were apparently against a ground invasion of Iran. There was also pushback against what the president sees as woke diversity policies. But when you boil it all down, this seems to be about one thing: installing officials who are personally loyal to the president and his vision, period.
So the end game here, it seems to be creating a military where professional experience takes a backseat to unwavering personal allegiance to the commander-in-chief. Let's take a look at how this is actually reshaping the entire command structure.
This table really lays it all out. It shows the strategy in action. You've got General George being replaced by General Lenave, who just so happens to be a former aide to the defense secretary. Then the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency gets the boot right after releasing a critical report. See the pattern? It's a crystal clear case of swapping out experienced officers for people with personal ties to the new leadership.
And, this quote in the president's own words really seems to illustrate the philosophy that could be driving all these decisions. He has actually stated a preference for people who make him feel better, not necessarily the ones who are the most successful or the most skilled.
But this push for absolute loyalty, it's not just stopping at the Pentagon. Oh no, a very similar purge, getting rid of anyone seen as not devoted enough, is now spreading all through the president's cabinet.
And that list just keeps on growing. Attorney General Pam Bondi, she's out. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she's out too. And now, the word is that the FBI director, the Commerce Secretary, and even the Director of National Intelligence could be the next ones on the chopping block. Now, the case of Pam Bondi is really telling. She was considered a super sycophant. We're talking someone whose loyalty was thought to be absolute. But even that wasn't enough to save her. Reports are suggesting she was fired because she couldn't manage the Epstein file story. So what does that tell you? It shows the demand isn't just for loyalty. It's for a loyalist who can also deliver results that are, let's say, politically convenient. And look, this isn't just some inside the Beltway drama. All this instability in Washington, it has very real consequences for regular households all across the country. So let's take a look at the impact this is having outside the halls of power. Probably the most direct impact for a lot of people is right at the gas pump. For the first time since 2022, average gas prices have shot past the $4 mark. Think about that. That's a $1 per gallon jump since this whole war started, and it's squeezing family budgets everywhere.
And the discontent is becoming really widespread. You have these No Kings protests that have erupted in 50 cities, with more than 8 million people taking part. The president's approval ratings, they're falling. And maybe most critically, the experts in the energy market are losing trust. They just don't believe the administration's promises that the war is ending soon anymore.
So, when you put it all together, the firings, the conflicting reports, the public backlash, it all leads to one final, really critical question. What is the real goal here?
With all this pressure mounting from a costly war, from falling approval ratings, and a really nervous market, you have to wonder if these firings are less about strategy and more about, well, stagecraft. Could this just be a preemptive move to find some scapegoats, to find someone to take the fall for a failing war? It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Who's going to be blamed next?